Hello and welcome back to Artisan Electrics for a very special episode. Behind me we've got these beautiful Artisan vans. Next to me we've got Nick, my business coach, and we're going to talk to you all about coaching today. But the job that we're on is really interesting, so we're going to give you a little tour around. This is a solar PV project that we're working on with Oval Renewables. It's a new part of our business, and that's why I've got Nick here showing him the next phase of our business, and he's going to help coach me through these coming months. All about coaching. Hopefully you'll enjoy. Hit a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let's get into it. The roofing side of it is a bit more involved. The other one that we did, you just lifted the tiles and sort of tucked them underneath.
Oh, right.
So we didn't have to do any cutting of tiles or anything, but they've got these special roofing tools that they use to cut the
Does that bracket have to go into the joist?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the joists coming down like that, presumably, and then this bracket, you screw it in, you put that thing over, and then you put the tiles back over. So now we're going to head over to the studio and talk to Nick all about business coaching. Behind the scenes of my business, there are people that you don't know about, and today I'm going to introduce you to one of them. This is Nick, my business coach. So Nick has been coaching me behind the scenes for about a year now, and you might have noticed that our business has grown quite a lot in the last year. So I just thought I would share with you guys today some of the things that I've learned from coaching, and get Nick to share a bit of his wisdom with us, because I know that a lot of you out there are trying to run your own business, and there are lots of challenges that we face as tradespeople that a coach can really help with. So hopefully this video will be of benefit to you. If it is, don't forget to hit a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's go. So Nick, how did you become a business coach?
Good question, good question. Well, I was pretty boring, but 20 years in consumer finance. Long story short, that came to an end not long after the crash. I was approached by Action Coach, which is a global franchise of business, the world's biggest business coaching firm. And it was a challenge that I really wanted to go for, and I've been with Action Coach for about 7 years.
Great. And what do you love about being a coach?
Apart from working with people like you, I think the joking aside, that is it. Business owners are, by definition, they're people who are different from the average person, because they've gone off and they've set up a business by themselves. They've done what most people don't do. In definition, I guess they're interesting people anyway.
So let's talk about some of the things that you've helped me with over the last year, because I came to you a year ago, almost a year to the date actually. I was in a place where I really needed help to just take the business to the next level. Can you remember some of the challenges that I faced at the start?
This is interesting because for those of you who've got a coach, you'll know that the coach does most of the question asking.
Yeah.
So Jordan's
tables have turned.
Tables have turned, yeah. From my recollection, it was like you said, you wanted to grow the business, but it was a business that was very much reliant on you. It'd been a one-man band, and you'd grown it, and you'd done very well, but it was difficult to be able to take it to the next level by yourself. There was time constraints. There was, if you grew it, what would happen to you? And I think time was the big challenge for you, which it is for most people. If you're a tradesman and working out there, got your own business, or even if you're self-employed, time's going to be a big challenge.
Yeah, so one of the things that I was really struggling with was that I knew that I needed to grow, but I didn't really know how to take that next step. I had so much work coming in, I couldn't keep up with it, or couldn't keep up with all the inquiries. And I was at the point where I needed to start hiring people. But it's a scary thing, like taking on your first employees. It feels like quite a big commitment. And then how do you do it? How do you find the right people? How do you do the interview process? As a tradesperson who's just always worked by themselves, that can feel quite overwhelming. So you really helped me a lot with that, because you helped me to just focus on step by step what I needed to do to get to that next milestone of hiring my first employees as, you know, electricians. And now you guys can see from, you know, what's going on. You watch us on the channel, you can see that we've got a big team now that, you know, we didn't have a year ago. So it's amazing how much growth that we've achieved.
Well, I think that process that you're talking about there is, with most things in business, there's things that you perhaps know what you should be doing, but you're not doing. But there's also a lot of things that you don't know how to do. Like, how do I recruit the right people? I've tried before and I've got some people that didn't work out. So there's a couple of ways to do that. First of all is treating the job ad as a marketing piece, because all the best people are already working and not necessarily looking for jobs. But so how do you get your company in front of the right people? But then once you've got that, how do you take people through the recruitment process with as little effort as possible to you? And how you do that is to get people to deselect themselves. So there's certain things you can get people to go through that the lesser candidates won't go through. And so they'll deselect themselves naturally, so you're left with the people who are much more likely to be a good candidate. And then you did a group interview.
Yeah, and this is an amazing story really to share, because you're talking about that, and that's exactly how you talked to me about it when I was asking you, like, okay, I need to hire people. What do I do? How do I go about it? And it really works. That's the thing. Like, I was very dubious about it at the start, because I was thinking this group interview thing sounds really a bit wacko. You know, like, it's not very conventional, like, to have, you know, get a group of people together in a room who are all competing for the same job. It felt a little bit weird, you know. And the thing about getting people to deselect themselves as well. But it really worked, because now looking back to a year ago, so I think it was July last year, we did the group interview about a month after I'd started coaching with you. And do you know who was there at that group interview? Luke was there, John was there, and they're both now employees of our company, which just shows, like, we had 4 candidates that came along to that interview, and out of those 4, 2 of them have become full-time employees. And we employed Lee as well, who also became, you know, part of the company around that similar time. So that's like a massive win for me. And it just shows that the strategies that you put in place, even though I was a little bit like scared to implement them, they really worked.
I think also what Jordan's not telling you, and he may or may not realise this, the importance of the client. People say what makes a good coach. It really is down to the quality of the client, and Jordan is very open-minded. He is hard-working. I'm sure most business owners are hard-working. You're doing the hard work. I'm helping you to be the best you can be, and so the business to be the best business it can be.
Well, one of the things that I found is that when I was just running it all by myself and I didn't have a coach, I would get so focused on the problems in the business, even if they were small problems, and how I needed to fix them. Like, you can be so focused on firefighting, for example, like putting out all these fires that are going on immediately, that you forget to focus on the bigger picture of, like, how to grow a business that you know, works systematically. And you can end up not growing because you're so focused on firefighting that you don't actually put the effort into building your business. Working in the business rather than working on the business, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? That a lot of business owners get stuck in that trap, I guess. Is that what you found? Yeah,
well, there's a good analogy in the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where Stephen Covey talks about 2 managers, one a manager and one a leader, if you like. One's going through the rainforest and he's just driving people through to cut down the trees to make progress. But then the leader goes up the tree just to see, are we on track for the right rainforest, or are we on track for the right path? And you can see up there, like you said, if you look down from a higher level, if we're really on track. Otherwise you can just get caught up in the day-to-day and just cutting down tree after tree after tree. And it could be over there is a lot easier path if we just move over slightly.
Yeah, and what you're saying really resonates with my experience of getting involved with you as a coach, because I remember one of the first things that you asked me about when I met with you, it wasn't actually about the business, it was about me and my goals in life. Because you said that what you've got to do is start with the end in mind. So start your business with the end goal in mind, whatever that might be, whether it's to create a business that can run itself so that you can go and sit on a beach drinking pina coladas, or whether it's to, you know, grow sort of an empire that, you know, can be a legacy for your family. Whatever it is, you need to start the business with that goal in mind. And a lot of people, I think, forget that. They just, like you said, they're so busy cutting down trees, they don't actually see where they're going. And maybe they're going in a different direction to where they actually want to be.
It's true, and with business, it's very easy after a while. We might start off idealistic and say, I get into business for freedom, or generally it's because we're fed up of working for somebody else, or we get made redundant, so we start up our own business. But we might start off with some ideals, but then the business goals take over our personal goals. So you're a really good point about where do we want to end up, and then what's the business need to do to get you there.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest pain points that people come to you with, particularly from the trades, would you say?
Well, I think the number one thing is time, is having enough time, isn't it? I haven't got enough time, time is probably either I haven't got enough time to work on the business instead of which you know you need to work on the business to develop it, or I haven't got time to see my family. You know, we get very used to working more and more hours, and if you ask a business owner, especially in the trades, they will say, well, that's just what you've got to do. And you know, we might get used to not seeing our family or our children or our loved ones, and we might think that's just what you've got to do. But are our family and children still happy with that? Possibly not when we ask the question. So it's really about sorting out that time. First of all, I think what we did with you is analyse what it was you were doing. So analysis is the first most important thing, is to understand exactly what all the things you're doing. And some of the stuff you don't need to be doing. You know, you should be just doing the stuff that you and only you should do. So I think we looked at things that you didn't enjoy doing, and they didn't need your level of skill. And those sort of things you could probably pay somebody £10, £15 an hour to do. And if you're the business owner, your hourly rate, you should be doing 50, 100, £1,000 an hour work, really, because every hour you work is responsible for the turnover of the business. So if you've got those things you don't enjoy doing and then less skill needed, then farm them out to somebody else, outsource them, or hire somebody with a great attitude but with low skill level that they can do those things. You might need to put a process in place so that they can follow that to do it. As their confidence and skill develops, they can then rise up the career path in the company.
Yeah, I remember doing that. Two things that I did with you right at the start: a time analysis, so literally going through every day, logging my time, how much time do I spend doing different things, and then doing the skill fun matrix, where we basically look at all those things that I do, what of them do really need my skill level, and what could be outsourced to somebody, you know, with a different skill level, and what do I enjoy and what do I not enjoy, and then figuring out what I could delegate. And I found that I spent a lot of time doing invoices, for example, which I didn't really need to do. I could train somebody else to do that. I didn't enjoy creating invoices, so we got Erica to do invoices, and now I don't have to do invoices anymore, which is great. And that's just one example of loads of little different tasks that I was doing myself, which, having done the skill fund matrix and the time analysis, I was able to realise that I could outsource to other people, and that's freed me up to focus on the stuff that I do enjoy or that really needs my skill level.
And guess what? Erica probably does the invoices a lot quicker than you would with all the interruptions, and she can just focus on just doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely noticed that a lot of those things in the business run a lot smoother now that it's not me who's doing them.
Well, that links in with other challenges, time challenges for trades, definitely. Time and people, time and team. So another reason why it's a challenge to get everything done from a trades perspective is you're always getting questions or distractions or people wanting you to do things. That's generally because we've trained our team to come and ask us if it's okay to do something. If we're always getting silly questions or people asking us questions, it's because we've trained them that way. But the good news is that if we've trained them one way, we can train them another way. Yeah. But the secret is we've got to trust in them which is hard when it's your own business and it's your own baby and you don't want to relinquish. You've got to let go sometimes. And if they come to you with a question, even if their solution, well, you ask them how they would fix it, even if their solution is not 100% as good as what you think you would do, go with it, because they'll own it if they've got played a part in coming up with a solution. And then gradually reinforce them. Let them go away. If it's not as good as your solution and they make a mistake, fine, they'll learn from that. But you've got to allow a bit of risk taking and for people to learn themselves. Because at the end of the day, how did you learn?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's about somebody entrusting you with a bit of responsibility and then you doing it and learning along the way.
Yeah, and then that will buy back your time, because they'll gradually stop coming to you. They'll take ownership of things. They'll take on more from you, and you'll end up with a lot more time off the back of it.
Yeah, and I've got a good example of that actually that happened last week, where there was a client who was a little bit upset with us because we'd gone out and done a site visit to quote for this job, but it was quite a long way out of our way, so it was sort of like a fault finding visit, so we charged them for the time that we spent finding the fault, even though we didn't actually fix it because it needed certain materials. And the client didn't really want to pay the invoice because he said, the guy was only here for half an hour and he didn't actually fix anything, but with travelling time it'd probably been a couple of hours to get there and back. So I was supposed to deal with this, but I'd been putting it off, I didn't have time, and the client phoned in, and so Dan dealt with it. And he just said to the client, I tell you what, if you go ahead with the work to do all the repairs that we've quoted you for, we'll just discount the price of the initial call out visit from your final invoice so that it's all included in the total cost of the job. And the client was happy with that. So it avoided a disgruntled customer, and because Dan knew that I would trust him to make that decision, he was able to do it. I'd sort of empowered him to make that decision. He was able to do it, and it avoided like a bad review from a customer. It resulted in a good, happy customer. Any other pain points that people have that you...
Yeah, I think the key, the reason why we're in business is to make more profit, isn't it? Well, ultimately to have time, but profit is the number one thing. So money is the third pain point after time and team. So it could be anything from needing cash flow, certainly in a trades business, making more profit, or getting more of the right kind of leads. It might be that you're getting a lot of business in, but it's bitty and they're not all the great customers that you really want. So there could be any number of things around money. I think the first one for me in profit is job costings, is understanding what is and isn't making money. So, if you've got one job that makes you 5% profit and one job makes 15%, which would you rather have more of? And what about if you've got some jobs that are making you no profit? Do you know what those jobs are, and why is that? And I think what the conversation we've had a lot is about that the numbers have the answers. This is how I try to explain it. Hopefully it comes across well. But and until you have the data on the numbers, you don't know what the questions are that you should be asking to uncover the answers. So, for instance, when we've got these job costings, so this is the estimated cost, this is the actual price that they paid. If they differ at any point, we can ask questions. So why is that different? Why did that make more profit than that one? What happened there? What happens if we do this? And I don't know if you've got an example of that.
Yeah, I feel like in general, as a small business owner, we tend to fly by the seat of our pants and just do everything by gut feeling. Like, I feel like my business is profitable and I feel like I'm making money. But when you actually dive into the numbers and look at it, you can sometimes realise some quite scary patterns that are happening that you didn't know about, and that maybe you're not as profitable as you would have liked to have been. So I know for us, for some jobs, for example, we did the job costings and we found out that we were paying more money for the materials than we'd originally been quoting for, because prices had gone up in between the quoting and the actual buying of the materials. So we were able to increase our markup on materials to cover that extra, give us a bit more wiggle room with the pricing on the materials, and then we make a profit on the materials rather than a loss. But you don't know that unless you do the numbers, like you say.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about flying by the seat of your pants and stuff, the thing that I struggled with at the start with coaching was to get into that mentality of doing systems, because systems can feel a bit boring, and they involve you to kind of set it and forget it, like set something up and then just let it kind of run itself. And that involves stepping back a little bit sometimes from the business once you've set it up. Do you find that is a challenge sometimes for small business owners to get their heads around that?
Yeah, I think with systems, and what I mean by systems, processes in any way, we can think that they're more complex than they need to be, and it doesn't need to be. It could be just get things started. And I think what really worked with you, especially with the YouTube channel, but you don't have to have a YouTube channel, is every time you showed somebody how to do something, you videoed it, or somebody videoed you showing them.
Yeah.
And so you've got a permanent record then. And I think if you can remember this, that if you ever tell somebody how to do something, you're going to have to tell somebody again. But if you write it down, take a picture or video it, then you can just show them. Systems really is about saving yourself. Well, if you think systems stands for save yourself time, energy and money, nice acronym.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And it's about leveraging your time so you get more with less. So the more you can record it and show it for somebody else, the less you're going to have to do yourself.
Yeah. What do you think are the things that hold people back from getting a coach?
Probably the number one thing is, what's a coach going to tell me about my business? I think that's the number one thing, And the truth is that, as you know, I'm not going to tell you anything about how to be a Sparky, but it's about your expertise in your business and my wider expertise in the wider aspect of business, and the skill of coaching, getting the answers out of you, asking you the questions that you haven't already been asked, to make you understand how much more you know. So it's always about getting more from you. So I think pride and thinking that you know everything, or just not knowing, that could be what holds people back.
Yeah, and you've hit the nail on the head there when you said about just like, for me, what I've benefited from is just like every time I have a session, every couple of weeks, it pulls me out of what I'm focusing on, and it forces me to actually think. And even if it's just that time like talking with you, thinking about the bigger picture of the business, it just helps you to refocus, because it's so easy to slip back into just firefighting and working in the business rather than on the business. But having that regular time where it's just like focusing on the business, talking about what the next steps are, what are the next things that we need to do, that for me has been a game changer, really.
And it sounds all a bit fluffy, doesn't it? And it's very difficult for people to understand. But if you know of a coach, go and see if you can have a gifted session. Most will probably do that, and just experience it. I think that's the best way to do it. Just go and have a free session and experience the power of coaching. Yeah.
Well, I can say that it genuinely does work, because I've been working with you for like nearly a year now, and just looking at the numbers, I was just crunching the numbers. We've grown our turnover by 69%, our gross profit by 95%, and we've grown from basically a small handful of people to now like 15 employees and a couple of subcontractors. So I just want to take the opportunity to thank you really for all the help that you've given me to get my business to where it is today.
Well, yeah, and that's really nice. But I think, like I said earlier, I genuinely mean it. Working with great clients like you, Jordan, it makes my job so much easier.
That's good to know. So if you guys want to get a taste for coaching yourself, if you think it's something that might benefit you, we've got a great deal for you guys, a free coaching session. If you head to the link in the description, go to our page on the Action Coach website, fill out your details there, and you can sign up for a free coaching session, which hopefully will just give you a little taste for whether it's something that can be of benefit to you or not. Nick is a great coach in this area, so he might be able to help you personally. But if you're not in this area, there are action coaches who are great, just like Nick, all over the country, who are there to help you to make your business go from good to great. It's definitely worked for me, and I hope that it can help you guys too, because there's so many opportunities and so many joys that can come from running your own business, but sometimes you need a little bit of help to get things right and step in the right direction along the way.
Yeah, and our vision as Action Coach globally is world abundance through business re-education, and what the actual true vision purpose is to have a business coach in every business. And because we've got an abundance mentality, it doesn't mean that we just want one business and not another. We want everybody to have a coach.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, those principles, even though you know nothing about electricianing, for example, but the business principles can apply across all businesses, can't they? And that's the amazing thing.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, great. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thanks, mate.
It's been good to see you again.
You too, cheers.
We'll catch up again soon.